It is because we believe that to effectively serve the people and deliver effective strategies for DRRM, we have to be equipped facilities and technology-wise. Next one. Ayan. The NDRMC also digitalizes DRRM information system. This includes the OCD training portal. This is accessible in our website. The DRRM Knowledge Center, the monitoring and evaluation portal of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan, and the Planning and Budgeting Management Information System, or the PDMIS. The Ndrmc also partnered with the UNDP for the conduct of the data governance study, which aims to strengthen mechanisms, policies, and institutional arrangements on DRR, design support for the development of planning, generating tools, and national exposure database capture. These are all geared at enhancing decision-making support with Ndrmc and enhancing stakeholder engagement on matters related to digitalization of DRR. Okay, next part. Okay, we also have Gawad Kalasag SEAL. This is a program that is started in 1998, which acknowledges the exemplary practices of local government units, government agencies, schools, learning institutions, and even heroic acts of groups and individuals and the civil society organizations. No? So as of 2020, from the Gawad Kalasag program, it is now converted to Gawad Kalasag SEAL, wherein nakafocus na ito sa pag-assess ng capacity and capabilities ng ating local DRRM councils, but still nandun pa rin po yung pagkilala sa mga natataging groups and individuals for their heroisms and exemplary practices on DRRM and humanitarian assistance. Next po. Okay, so we also maintain partnerships with our partners both locally and internationally. So makikita po ninyo sa ating screen ang ilan lamang sa mga organizations, both international, regional, and national, na katuwang natin at kaagapay sa paggawa hindi lamang ng programa at polisiya, kundi sa pagtugon din sa hamon ng mga sakuna, ng mga disasters. Katuwang din natin sila sa pagresponde kapag may kalamidad at sa pagbangon ng mga communities pagkatapos. So, ayan po. Kaya patuloy lamang po yan na nagsinusuportahan ang bawat isa. Next po. So, isa rin po sa mga programa ng National Dream Council, ang Learning and Development Program. Tinututukan po natin ito sa pamamagitan ng una, establishment of the National Dream Training and Research Institute. Ganoon din po ang pagkakandak ng DRRM and Civil Defense trainings through the Education and Training Program. And of course, pagbibigay ng technical assistance not only by the OCD Central Office, but most specifically by the regional offices natin po sa buong Pilipinas. Next po. Operational capacity enhancement, we believe that we will not be able to provide the required services to our stakeholders if we will not enhance our operational capacity. Hence, institutionalize natin ang pre-disaster risk assessment. Pinaiting natin at mas hinusayan ang management ng ating operation center or emergency option. Na-establish natin ang RDA na Rapid Damage and Needs Assessment Teams tuwing may disaster. And nag-preposition na rin po tayo ng NFIs. Ito po kasing pre-disaster risk assessment. Ito yung scientific analysis of the impending disaster. Meaning, tinitingnan natin gaano kalayo yung disaster, saan ito tatama, anong oras ito tatama. Tinitingnan din natin gaano karami at sino-sino ang mga maapektuhan at saan sila pwedeng ilipat. At pagkatapos noon, tinitingnan na rin natin yung pagbangon mula sa disaster na ito. So, with the information na nakuha natin from the pre-disaster risk assessment, na-identify na natin saan tayo magpe-preposition ng ating non-food items, ng food and non-food items and relief assistance. Saan ligtas po ba yung ating paglalagyan ng mga relief na ito? Baka naman nauna pa itong nalubog kaysa yung community. So ito po yung mga capacity enhancements that we are doing para mas maayos yung pag-responde natin sa ating mga kababayan na apektuhan ng kalamidad. Next po. Ayan. And after po, meron po tayo na-discuss ko kanina yung mga ginagawa activities ng rehabilitation and recovery pillar natin ng Ndrmc. Isa sa mga specific na kanilang ginawa itong Ready to Rebuild for Rehabilitation and Recovery Program. So it aims to build the capacity of national and local governments to recover better and faster from natural and human-induced disasters even before they happen. So nakikita na natin na dadating yung disaster. So titingnan na natin, okay, ito yung magiging extent ng damage niya. How will we recover from this? So this covers pre- and post-disaster activities from gathering disaster data, formulating rehabilitation recovery plan, and the subsequent financing and implementation, facilitating emergency procurement, crafting communications strategy, and instituting monitoring and evaluation mechanisms. So ito po ay available sa website ng Office of Civil Defense. Nandito po nakabilog sa dulo yung kung saan ninyo pwede siyang makita. Doon sa materials po. Okay. Next. Okay. Okay. Ang Office of Civil Defense at ang National Interim Council ay patuloy din pong gumagawa at nag-enhance ng ating public service continuity plan. Ano po ito? Ito yung plano kung saan sisiguraduhin natin na magka-disaster man, masira man ang ating facilities, hindi madidisrupt yung public service natin dahil mayroon, alam na natin, nakaplano na siya kung paano natin patuloy na patatakbuhin yung ating mga opisina at maibigay ang serbisyo sa mga tao, especially on the most trying time. So, yun po. Sa ngayon po, ang ating mga national government agencies ay patuloy din pong gumagawa at nagre-review ng mga nagawa na nilang public service continuity plans. Yun po. Nag-establish din po ang government ng alternate government command and control centers. So far po, mayroon tayo sa Tarlac yung alternative government administrative center, and then ang government command and control ay matatagpuan natin sa Nueva Ecija, Cebu at Butuan. Okay po. Next po. Ayan. So patuloy din po yung paggawa natin ng mga plano para makita natin yung mga plano para sa DRRM, no? So through our dream planning and monitoring system, ginagawa po natin sa kasalukuyan yung development guidelines and development guidebook both for the regional dream plan and the local dream plan. I-review din po natin yung local dream plan and barangay dream plan, and meron din po tayo yung QAS or the Quality Assurance System that is led by naman currently by the DILG. Next po. Ayan. So malaki rin po ang naging ambag ng OCD and Ndrmc sa COVID-19 mitigation efforts. Kabilang po tayo sa task group or resource management and logistics. And kabilang din pa po tayo at nilid po natin ang NTF or National Task Force Against COVID-19. And secretariat din po tayo ng response cluster. Next po. Ayan. Okay. So, nakita po natin ang ating mga programa na kasalukuyang ginagawa ng ating pamahalaan para sa disaster risk reduction and management. But since ang audience po natin at ang proponent po ng webinar na ito ay ang DTI at ang ating mga consumers naman ng ating audience, isinama po natin dito yung kahalagahan na magkaroon ng business continuity plan ng ating mga business enterprises para for the purpose of maintaining resiliency. So what is business continuity planning? It is a proactive process that identifies and prioritizes the critical functions and the likely threats to those functions. From this information, plans and procedures are developed through a regular program of personnel training, plan testing, and maintenance. These management disciplines, processes, and techniques provide business continuity for critical business functions under the circumstances and limits set by the senior management. So this include defining worst-case scenarios used for business continuity planning and approving the funds and staff of the company's BCP program. Next po. So why should we do business continuity planning? First of all, it is the right thing to do for the clients, stakeholders, staff, and companies because in the first place, not only we want to secure our business and our earnings, but also the security of our staff and the consumers in case an unlikely event occurred. Okay. Also, it ensures compliance with the ever-increasing regulatory requirements. And also, it enhances the ability to avoid interruptions to delivery of services, financial losses, regulatory fines, and damages to facilities and equipment. Next one. So, how do we do it? Business continuity is treated like a process. Treated as a process, not a project. So, continuous po ito. Hindi ito one time, big time na ginawa mo na and that's it. It has to be institutionalized. Yeah, it has to become a culture. Methods are based on a proven certifiable discipline. Plans start simply and increase in sophistication as teams gain confidence. Governance is provided for by the senior management of companies, and established emergency management activities and protocols are interwoven into the BCP process. Next one. So we will now discuss the phases of continuity planning. So phase 1, of course, is mitigation and preparedness, which occur before an incident. So after assessing your risk, do what you can to avoid the risk or reduce the impact in case of an emergency or incident. For the phase 2, preparedness, be as prepared as you can to minimize the impact in case of an emergency or incident. And then the incident occurred. So we will now move on to phase 3, which is response. Take reasonable actions when emergency or incident occurs. And the phase 4, recovery, while still responding, start to think about how to return to normal operations as soon as possible. Next one. So how to maintain business continuity plans, create or update business continuity plans, maintain an updated and accessible emergency contact information, test the business continuity plans. We cannot just let it sit there as, okay, we have a plan, but we have to test it. We have to do drills. Assign key players to emergency response teams, establish alternate work arrangements, know the organization's emergency management procedures. Then save all work products so the department's shared server and store a disaster kit like grab and go under the desk with items needed during an emergency. We also do yung tagging ng mga equipment when an emergency occurred. Of course, it would help if employees would have something that they can employees should be oriented on bringing something valuable with them as they evacuate, if possible. Next po. So, ito po yung planning life cycle ng business continuity. So, analysis, solution design, implementation, testing and acceptance, maintenance, and then, so it's a cycle. Next po. So, ang DTI po ay naglunsad ng MSME Guide to Disaster Resilience. Katuwang po nila dito ang maraming organizations and katulong po ang Office of Civil Defense sa pagbuo nito. So, para saan ang MSME Guide to Disaster Resilience? To be able to protect our consumers who are crucial in the economy of the country, businesses should have continuous operations. In the recognition of the importance of regional economic resilience, the DTI and the ADPC, in collaboration with other agencies responsible for SME promotion and focal agencies for DRRM, launched the project Strengthening the Disaster Resilience of Small and Medium Enterprises in Asia. The project seeks to engage micro, small, and medium enterprises in the Philippines on disaster risk management activities. So yun po. Next po. Oh, so that is my last slide. Bago pa ako magpaalam, hayaan po ninyong ibahagi ko yung naiisip ko kagabi. Ang disaster daw ay parang pag-ibig, hindi mo alam kung kailan at gaano kalakas tatama ito sa'yo. Kaya sabi nga sa amin sa Marinduque, maigi na yung handa kita at meron kitang alam. Okay po? So, ang inyo pong Ndrmc ay always here para tumulong, hindi lang sa paggawa ng mga polisiya, kundi sa pag-ensure na sana lahat ng tao ay ligtas at matatag laban sa mga sakuna. Thank you so much po and good day.
All right. Thank you po. Thank you again, Ma'am Raquel, for that very timely and informative presentation about the disaster risk resilience and our recovery or the RRM plan of the Philippines. So, tutungo na po tayo sa ating ikalawang bahagi po ng ating programa, ang question and answer portion. So, again po, to all our participants here in Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube Live, good morning po ulit sa ating lahat. And to everyone po na nakasubaybay po sa atin dito sa ating webinar series. So para po sa ating question and answer, short reminder lang po sa ating mga participant to stay muted unless you're addressing the speaker and or moderator directly. Please be also informed na makakapag-download po kayo ng copy ng presentation material after you accomplish the client satisfaction feedback form that will be posted in the chat box section. Para po mas maging interactive ang ating question and answer portion, we encourage everyone to click the raise hand button so we can call you to ask directly to our speaker. Pwede rin po i-send ang inyong question sa chat box. So habang wala pong, meron na po tayong nag-raise hand, si Sir. Okay, Sir Heriberto Tabanud. Sir, you are recognized po. Kindly unmute your mic.
Hello.
Hi, Sir.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have already posted my questions sa chat box. Tatlo po yun. Please, I think the first one is for DTI. The other two is for the civil defense. Sige, I'll be waiting for the answer.
Sige, sir. We will answer. We will mention your comments, sir, in a while, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir Heriberto. So, ma'am, let's go to our chat box. So, for our question po, Ma'am Raquel, what are the major challenges in mainstreaming disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation in the country?
Sorry, sir. Ano po ulit? The question is?
Yes, ma'am. The question please, what are the major challenges in mainstreaming disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation in the country?
Okay, sir. First of all po kasi, first and foremost challenge una is yung mindset. No? Medyo now we are inching forward to enhancement to changing this mindset, but we cannot deny the fact that it is still here. Ito po yung mindset na nasaan ang gobyerno during the time of disasters. Nasaan ang gobyerno? So we will examine that question. For example, ang isang komunidad ay tinamaan ng bagyo. Yung nagutom na o yung nawala ng bahay na na residente would ask, nasaan ang gobyerno? Ganyan. So, tingnan po natin. Yes, the government should be there at once and immediately as soon as possible to ibigay ang needs ng mga nasalanta. Ito po yung unang challenge. It is the mindset that the government should be the one to save the people or to protect or to help the people. Samantalang naaayon sa ating batas, unang-una, ang local government units are at the forefront of disaster risk reduction and management, and they are expected to be the first responders. So hence, there is a need for them to capacitate themselves and enhance their capabilities as well. Kaya po nandoon ang sistema, ano ba dapat ang mga dapat gawin? Mayroon bang mga plano na nakalatag? Mayroon ba tayong responders na naka-ready sa panahon na in case magkaroon ng disaster? Mayroon po ba tayo sapat na stockpile na relief and assistance, and sa tamang lugar po ba mga ito? Nakahanda ba ang ating mga evacuation centers? Ang ating volunteer organizations ba ay sapat din ang kaalaman sa tamang pagkilos in case dumating mismo yung disaster, at hindi ba sila would they compound the efforts instead of burdening the system? So yun po. So yun pa ang unang challenge, no, yung mindset, changing the mindset that disaster risk reduction and management and safety of the people is an individual and collective responsibility. Isa pa po, mahalaga ring malaman ng ating communities that yung ating mga responders, yung ating mga health workers, yung ating mga nasa barangay, they are part of the government. And hence, we cannot demand for the president to go down to the affected area, because at the end of the day, there are agencies that are there already sa ground. And isa pa po, we are expected to have strengthened our capacities and capabilities even before the disasters arise. And this can be done through hazard, vulnerability, and risk assessment ng community. So kung alam mo hazard mo, gaano ka vulnerable, how exposed are you, and gaano kalaking risk na tatama ito, you should have known how to capacitate the community itself even before the disaster comes. Now, moving forward po, doon naman sa challenges sa climate change. Marami pong kasing tao yung parang climate change is not real to some. So mahirap pong ipaunawa. Although napakarami na ng efforts to communicate the risk and the measures to adapt and to mitigate the risk of climate change, to convince the people that they also have a role to play in this risk that we are facing, isa po yun sa pinakamalaking challenge. So yun po. But wait, if I would ask, no, kasi yung mga anak ko maliliit pa sila, they're age at 13, 8, and 10. But it's just a matter of siguro isaksak natin sa utak nila, let's start them early, that they have responsibilities to the earth. So my children, as much as possible, would not waste paper, pencil, would not use plastic. As much as possible, they will not use air cons because they are so concerned for the earth. So we can start there. We can do something. Yun po. Next po.
Alright, thank you Ma'am Raquel. So very clear po yung Raquel na, so kahit po kanong kaganda yung plan and programs natin, if the people, the implementer, and yung po mga affected will not cooperate, will not do their part, talagang mahirapan po, tulad po yung mainstreaming po ng DRR and CCA. Thank you, Ma'am Raquel. So for our question number 3, Ma'am, how does Ndrmc coordinate or assist in the governance and enforcement of disaster management related laws? So meron po kasi there has been a proliferation of establishments in informal sectors in low-lying and high-risk areas or no building zones. So that's the question, Ma'am. How does Ndrmc assist po in the governance and enforcement of DRRM-related laws?
Okay. Sige po. The Ndrmc is the highest policy-making body in DRRM. The OCD is the executive arm of the council. So, and then we have 4 thematic pillars led by the agencies that are led by the concerned and appropriate agencies. At the end of the day, sir, the laws, the policies, and the plans are cascaded, are turned over to the governments that are supposed to implement them. Okay, so for example, proliferation of establishments and informal settlers. I understand that there are government agencies that are tasked to address this. For as long as there are policies and laws and plans that are cascaded to these agencies, then it is in their hands na on how to implement this. For example po, informal settlers in low-lying and high-risk areas, that there are policies regarding this. So it is up to, I guess, the DILG and other law enforcement agencies to implement these laws.
Okay, thank you po, Ma'am Raquel, for that explanation and answer po. Let's move on to the next question, ma'am. So, what are the guidelines or programs of NDRMC that adequately address gender considerations and the special needs of particularly vulnerable population during calamities?
Okay. So if we would look po sa ating national DRRM plan, it is gender sensitive and IP responsive plan na mga provisions po dito. Kung titingnan natin doon sa ating, sa pinakita ko kanina na outcomes ng ating national DRRM plan, sa thematic area po ng prevention and mitigation, makikita po natin doon yung provision ng gender responsive, wait lang sir, palikan ko lang. Okay. Okay. So makikita po natin dito yung okay. Dito po sa ating thematic areas ng ating National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan, nandito po yung ayan. So sa outcome 4 ng prevention and mitigation, institutionalized timely, responsive, context, and culture-specific early warning system, reaching the last mile. And then we have ayan, outcome 16. Affected communities are provided with gender and conflict-sensitive basic necessities and services. So makikita po natin, sa outcome 16, makikita po natin yung provision na yan. And kung specific programs and activities ay nakaangkla po dito sa outcome na ito. Ensuring that gender responsive and conflict-sensitive yung basic necessities and services that would be provided during disaster response and early recovery. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Ma'am Raquel. So, doon po sa NDRM plan, as soon as what Ms. Raquel mentioned, included po yung mga ating mga vulnerable sector po ng population, particularly in outcome 16 of the NDRM plan. Thank you, Ma'am Raquel. So,
yes, sir. And if I may add, sir, our national green plan is accessible via the Ndrmc website in case for that you're interested to see the particular plans and activities under those outcomes.
Thank you, ma'am. So, later po, ipopost po natin sa website po yung link ng website for you to access the NDRM plan. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Going to the next question, ma'am. From Sir Heriberto Tabanud po, from Consumer how many percent of our MSMEs have BCPs? How many are implemented? How good is the implementation as a whole? So I think this question is addressed for DTI. So sir, as of now sir, we don't have the exact number po kasi doon po siya sa isang bureau namin sa BSmed. But sir, meron po kaming isang webinar session, I think this month din po ng July, tackling po sir yung about po sa MSME and yung pong BCPs. So siguro sir, the following week, magsasend po kami ng invitation link for this particular seminar sir. That time sir, masasagot po sir in detail sir yung ating question. So for moving on po for question. Yes sir. Thank you sir. Thank you sir. For question number 6, again sir from Sir Roberto. Ma'am Raquel, are LGUs rated on how good are their DRM plans and implementation? If yes, what is the result? I repeat po ma'am, are LGUs rated on how good are their DRM plans and implementation? If yes, what is the result?
Okay, thank you so much for the question, sir. Na-mention ko po kanina yung Gawad Kalasag Seal, ano? Gawad Kalasag Seal has evolved from being an award program to evaluation of local DRM councils. So, mayroon po tayong ginagamit na tool to evaluate not only their DRM plans and implementation, but also the council itself. Mayroon bang sapat na tao? Mayroon bang sapat na sistema? May sapat bang plano na implement ba ito? May mga pasilidad ba? May nakarapat-dapat na, yung nararapat na equipment para dito? Mayroon din po ba tayong, ano yung involvement ng civil society organizations and the mga volunteers sa community? So ina-assess po sila in the 4 thematic pillars of DRM. And so far, sir, once na ma-assess sila, once they are granted the Gawad Kalasag Seal, that is the first step. I think they are para exempted na doon sa first step naman ng Seal of Good Local Governance or Good Housekeeping. Ganyan. So far po, continuous po ito. Yearly po itong ginagawa, and I don't have the data on the result kasi ibang service po yung nag-handle niyan. Pero rest assured po na mandatory na po ito that they have to gawin yung self-checklist using the tool that have been developed and provided by the council, and then eventually i-evaluate further, and saka pa lang sila mabibigyan ng Gawad Kalasag Seal. Sa ngayon po kasi ang Gawad Kalasag had been suspended since the pandemic, pero ongoing na po ulit ngayon, and ongoing na rin po yung evaluation ng mga local DRM council from all over the country. Mandatory na po ito. So the result po would be, ilalabas siya I think within the year. As a result of that, at pang ilan na bang Gawad Kalasag, ito 21st na po yata na Gawad Kalasag. So sir, I really can't give you the exact data pa ngayon kasi it's being handled by another service, and since ongoing pa po siya, since nag-evolve ang Gawad Kalasag Awards to Gawad Kalasag Seal in 2020. Ayun po.
Thank you, Ma'am Raquel. So, if I may share po, I am also part of that, the Gawad Kalasag pool of validators. So,
wow, thank you, sir.
I think this August magkakaroon po kami ng table evaluation for yung mga applicants. Thank you, Ma'am Raquel. Last question po from Sir Roberto. Is the possibility of a Philippine-China or US-China war being considered in our national DRRM plan?
Okay, so as a national DRRM plan po natin, kasama po dito ang consequence management for human-induced disasters or disasters arising from armed threats. Ganyan. It is not specifically the Philippine-China or US-China war dahil po maraming threats tayong kinakaharap. So in general po, kasama po siya pagdating po sa the war itself, it's of course a military matter, but in terms of managing the consequences, kasama po yan sa ating National Dream Plan, because at the end of the day, we will not be fighting the war, the National Dream Council, the OCD, tayo, we will not be fighting the war, but we have the big responsibility of ensuring that the welfare of those affected are taken care of.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am Raquel, for answering the question po of Sir Heriberto. So again po, if you want to to address directly the question to our speaker, to Ma'am Raquel, you may raise your hand, unmute your mic, so we can acknowledge po your question. No? So habang wala po tayong nag-raise hand sa ating mga participants, let's go to the question in the chat box. So question, ma'am, another question po regarding the pandemic, ma'am. How did the COVID-19 pandemic affect NDRMC's policies and programs? How did the agency adapt?
Oh, actually, sir, just like everyone, no, nakulong tayo sa ating mga bahay, but the Ndrmc itself did not stop. Kami doon, since nasa plans kami, no, nagka-adapt po kami ng skeletal force, which I think is the same to all other government agencies. Pero yun pong ating response pillar. Tuloy-tuloy po yung operation center natin. Pag dumating po sa puntong na-contaminate, ang daming nag-contract ng COVID, nagkakaroon po ng augmentation ng personnel. So in short po, dire-diretso po, nag-adapt po tayo in the needs of the times, and mas maigting yung ating naging participation kasi po we cannot stop, we cannot close shop regardless of the circumstances. So dire-diretso po siya ang naging ang mga naka-work from home, ginamit po namin lahat ng means to ensure na lahat ng kailangan ma-deliver. In terms of policy formulation during the pandemic po, maraming mga inihaing batas, mga bills po sa Congress at sa Senado. So we have been analyzing those bills remotely. We've been discussing them via Zoom and other platforms just to make sure na ma-input natin, ma-incorporate natin yung Ndrmc side doon sa mga bills and policies na yon. Even po itong National Dream Plan, nag-start ang review and enhancement ng 2018, and it was signed and approved by the Council in October of 2020. So kung titingnan po natin, hindi naging hadlang ang pandemya para magawa pa rin natin ang ating mga trabaho. Even our bosses ay nagkakaroon na rin ng COVID. Continuous lang po yung meeting virtually basta kaya nilang mag-attend and hindi sila bedridden. So far po, we were able to deliver, especially since part din kami ng NTF, National Task Force on COVID. Kami din yung head ng logistics. We even procured COVID-related equipment and products para sa ating mga government agencies and ating, yung centers, facilities. And ako personally, as part of the TIAC, Technical Inspection Acceptance Committee, walang COVID kailangan nating mag-inspection sa Cavite, sa Tarlac. So we had to do that. And kapag mayroong nag-positive, then quarantine lang tayo, pero tuloy pa rin yung trabaho. So ganun po, naka-adapt po agad kasi we cannot stop We are the frontliners.
Thank you, Ma'am Raquel, again for answering that question. So as what Ma'am Raquel mentioned po, every member agency of the Ndrmc po adapted sa new normal or the pandemic or about the COVID-19. So nag-adjust po ng mga plans, programs, and responses and recovery plans po especially for COVID-19 pandemic. Ma'am, let's move on to another question from Amerton Inc. Sir Manuel Basadre. I think this is for DTI, but kung meron po kayong answer, ma'am, please po. What is the standard frequency in the testing of BCP or business continuity plan?
Okay. So far, sorry, so I cannot answer that. We have formulated a public service continuity plan for the government agencies, but the business continuity plan as well. We are suggesting the formulation of the same, but it's beyond our scope, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Ma'am Raquel. So ano pa as what I have said po earlier, meron pong another topic especially for NSME, no, in relation to disaster management. So matatakal po dito yung BCP. So let's tune in po or watch out po dun sa papadala naming invitation for the succeeding webinar series. For another question, ma'am, from Ma'am Dayan Manaligod from Congress. What direct assistance do you extend to LGUs which are perennially under direct threats of flooding given their geographical location? I am specifically referring to municipalities of Masantol, Macabebe, Candaba, and neighboring municipalities which are constantly under water almost year-round since even high tides put them under threat. Question, ma'am, what direct assistance do you extend to LGUs?
Okay, as far as the RCD and Ndrmc is concerned, sir, okay. Our regional offices continuously provide training, capacity building activities and programs, as well as providing technical assistance in terms of the formulation of plans and policies by the LGUs po, also, in coordination with other agencies, nakikipag-ugnayan po tayo to provide them the required capacity building assistance. We train, we provide technical assistance, we provide assistance in the formulation of plans and policies. But in terms of direct assistance, Okay, we have the National DRM Fund, which are being used for rehabilitation and recovery of areas that are directly affected by disasters. But it is actually the RCD who processes the release of the funds. But at the end, it is with the DBM, and upon the approval of the President, then the fund is released. So as regard as direct assistance po kasi, we are not, it is beyond our mandate, sir, since we respect the autonomy of the local government units as well as their own capacities and resources, sir. So as far as the OCD and Tues is concerned, we can provide capacity building activities and technical assistance, as well as cascading of plans, policies, and programs. Sorry, Ma'am Dayan. Thank you.
Thank you po, Ma'am Raquel. Again po, if you want to directly address your question po to our resource speaker, you may click the raise hand button in the Zoom panel po sa ibaba pong part so that we can recognize po your question. So habang wala po ulit, let's move on to another question from participants. D. Pama. How capable are the LGUs in addressing the needs of its subordinates? Do you conduct an assessment to the LGUs regarding their capability? If yes po, can you share to us?
Okay, kasama po ito so doon sa, I think it is kasama ito doon sa ina-assess natin using the Gawad Kalasag assessment toolkit, but not necessarily the capability itself or in the LGUs addressing the needs of its subordinates. Kasi I understand that the LGUs have their own annual investment programs. They have their local development plans. So, nandun po yun. Ang tinitingnan po namin as far as the Ndrmc is concerned is the local disaster risk reduction and management plans of the local government unit. So in terms of addressing the needs of its subordinates in terms of disasters, nakalagay po ito sa annual investment plan ng local government unit, which the OCD and the Ndrmc, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but It's different when you're stationed at the central office, no? But as far as I'm concerned, we do not touch the annual investment plan or program of the local government units because, in respect to their autonomy po. But nandun po ang pagtingin namin ay sa local disaster risk reduction and management plan and kung gaano ito ka-responsive para sa komunidad in case an eventual event occurs. Nasagot ko po ba, Ma'am or Sir P. Pama? Sana hindi kayo si Yusek Pama.
Thank you, Ma'am. So, Ma'am Ma'am Dayan po, if you have a follow-up question po, just raise your hand po, or if you're the answer of Ma'am Raquel po is suffice po dun sa inyong tanong po. Ano? So, moving on po tayo habang naghihintay po tayo sa ibang question. Ma'am, ito po, meron po tayong nag-raise ng hand from TTI CPO. Sir Rene Valesa. Yes, sir. Kindly unmute your mic. You're recognized po. Sir Rene.
Hello po, good morning po.
Good morning, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, good morning po. Sir, I will be talking na yung after the incident na po yung tapos na po yung incident po. Kasi po napapansin ko po is ma'am, pagdating po sa LGU kasi yung mga MSMEs natin parang nane-neglect sila, especially sa mga assistance na binibigay ng government. Kasi kung pupunta po tayo sa munisipyo, sa mga LGUs, after ng may typhoon halimbawa, is wala po silang record kung kumusta ba ang sitwasyon ng ating mga MSMEs. Wala po sila. Where in fact, legal po silang nag-operate po. Samantalang po yung ibang sector, halimbawa yung agriculture, kasi ang laki po ng binibigay na assistance, samantalang hindi naman sila nag-register, di ba? Wala silang papel about sa mga government na mga registration, wala sila. Pero ang laki ng kanilang nakukuha ang assistance. Samantalang itong mga MSMEs natin is wala po. Ano po ang natin diyan? Ang stand po natin.
Sir, yung question po is for Ma'am Raquel or si Pam, sir?
Kung sino po, sir, ang pwede sumagot?
Ma'am Raquel, meron po kayong ma'am, sagot po sa question po ni Sir Rene.
So, ang tanong po natin is assistance by the government to the SMEs.
Yes po. Kasi after na po ng disaster, kasi kalimitan po kasi nagpipiday na, pero pagdating sa LJ, wala naman silang record about sa mga MSMEs. Pero ang karamihan is yung mga nasa agricultural sector, yun talaga.
Okay. As far as the OCD and Ndrmc is concerned po, ang effect ng isang disaster sa mga MSMEs ay kasama po ito sa ating post-disaster needs assessment. Kasama po siya sa data na ating binibilang, sa data na ina-identify natin na nalugi, nawala. Ganyan po. But in terms of providing assistance po dun kasi, sorry po, but it is beyond the mandate po kasi ng council, ng OCD itself and the council. I think the TTI will be able to answer specifically kasi kami po, pagkatapos ng post-disaster needs assessment, it will be turned over to the NEDA and to the other agencies that are in charge of rehabilitation and recovery.
Yun na nga po mamang masakit eh. Legal na nga pong kasi yung mga ina-assist natin na mga MSMEs, yun talaga ang daing nila. Bakit wala silang assistance na nakukuha samantalang itong ibang sektor na hindi naman sila legitimate, hindi naman sila kumukuha na halimbawa ng mga business permit, pero ang laki ng assistance na kanilang nakukuha. Yun naman talaga po ang katotohanan. Sige po, ma'am.
Ayan. Pasensya na po sir, pero I think it's beyond our...
Baka pwede Baka pwede ma'am na matulungan natin ma'am na may paabot
Okay,
siguro.
sige po sir. I can the commitment that I can give is to raise this during meetings and during policy formulations,
Yes.
so that we can assess how we can help the MSMEs at the ground para po dito. Yun po sir ang may commit ka at this moment.
Yes po ma'am, DTI pa naman tayo ma'am eh.
So, sige ako.
Sige po ma'am, salamat po ma'am. Sige po ma'am, salamat po ma'am.
Thank you, Ma'am Raquel and Sir Rene. So, so si Ma'am Raquel is from OCD. So, on DTI side naman, sir, we have, sa CPG, sir, meron po tayong mga assistance, though ito po, sir, yung mga replenishment assistance po sa mga coordination po from supplier to manufacturers, yung pong kanilang mga supply chain, and I believe po ang ROG, meron pong mga programs, sir, like yung mga disaster assistance, yung mga starter toolkit. But sir, again po, doon po sa next episodes po ng webinar, matatakal po naman yun doon sa sa next natin, mag-invite tayo from, I believe, ROG or Bismed, sir, na guest speaker. But yun,
Yes,
sir, that po ng, yes sir.
Wala pala po sir, okay lang po sir.
Yes sir, thank you sir. Apo, balo sir, yung inyong comment, sir, well noted po, and I believe po, nasabi po ni Ma'am Raquel na sa meeting po ng Ndrmc ng council is i-take up po. Thank you, Sir Rene. Maraming salamat.
Salamat po, sir. Salamat po.
Okay, I would like to invite po other participants to raise your hand. Raise their hand po, doon po sa ating Zoom raise hand button. You may click po yung button na yan to directly address your question, comment, or suggestion to our speaker and to SIPAB or DTI. So habang wala po let's go to the remaining question po dito sa ating chat box from Ma'am Diane Manaligod po from Congress. Ma'am, do you supervise the disaster response of LGUs with view of making them better and appropriate to respond to perennial resident disasters?
Thank you so much po for the question. Kung titingnan po natin, ma'am, yung batas, makikita po doon natin yung hierarchy of disaster response. So once na ang isang barangay o dalawang barangay ay na-disaster, yan po papasok ang ating municipal. Once 2 or more municipals ay na-disaster, yan po papasok, mag-intervene ang ating lalawigan. At kung more than one province ang na-disaster, yan po papasok ang ating regional DRRM Council. And kung more than one region na, saka po papasok yung national. So ideally po, yun. So, but nonetheless, ang LGUs po, before disaster occurs, binibigyan po sila ng tuloy-tuloy po yung ating capacity building activity sa kanila on the 4 thematic pillars, hindi lamang po sa response. Para po kapag dumating na yung disaster, they are capacitated enough to deal with it. The OCD itself cannot supervise each and every disaster po because we need to follow what is in the law. Aside from that po, we also believe in the capacity of the LGUs to deal with the disasters on their own hanggat kaya. Pero kapag po dumami na, lumawak na, dyan na po papasok, dyan na po mag-i-intervene ang hierarchy. So the municipality and then eventually the province, the regional councils, and then the national dream council. So but nagkakaroon din naman po ng ng evaluation after a disaster as to what went wrong and how to improve the process afterwards. Yun po. Kasi po, we cannot really go down to every disasters that might happen aside from we don't have that enough human resource. Nasa LGUs din po kasi yung mga responders, nandun po yung naka-station sa kanila, nandun din ang kailang mga volunteers, and the resources are also with them. Also, meron naman po tayong mga municipal DSWD, provincial, DSWD, which can stand on their own kapag kaya pa at isang area lang yung tinamaan. Unless, yun na nga po as mentioned, 1, 2 or more, saka po papasok yung kasunod na level. Thank you.
Okay, Ma'am Raquel, maraming salamat po for the clear answer po to the question of Ma'am Dayan. Ma'am, follow-up question po doon, may calamity fund daw po bang allocated sa bawat city or province? And kung ito po ba ay nire-regulate or minomonitor ng OCD or Ndrmc?
Okay. Ang bawat local government unit po ay mayroong allocated na local DRRM fund. Ito po yung 5% ng inyong IRA na naka-allocate for this purpose. 70% nito should be used for pre-disaster activities, particularly prevention and mitigation, and preparedness and rehab and recovery. 30% po yung para sa response. At ang OCD po ay nire-require ang local government units na mag-submit ng utilization nila ng kanilang local DRRM fund as per the law. At sinasubmit naman po namin ito sa Department of Budget and Management. Meron po kaming, naglunsad din po kami ng dashboard kung saan pwedeng mag-input ang local government units ng utilization na report nila with the assistance of our regional offices patungkol sa kanilang local DRRM fund. Yun naman pong Calamity Fund, ngayon ay National DRRM Fund. Ito naman po ay, ito yung pondo na pwede nating i-request para sa ating local government. Sa kasalukuyan po, ginagamit ito after a disaster for rehabilitation recovery. So ang request po, itinadaan sa Office of Civil Defense. Pinoproseso po namin dito, isinasubmit sa Office of the President for approval and eventually to the DBM for the release of the funds. Yan po.
Thank you, Ma'am. So, okay po, maganda po yung paliwanag din, Ma'am. Meron pong dalawang type of fund, yung LDRM fund and Calamity Fund, which yung una po is nakasama na po sa IRA ng bawat city government or LGUs. Then the other naman po, the other fund is the Calamity Fund na kailangan po ng request and approval by the President and DBM. Thank you so much, Ma'am, for that explanation. Move forward po tayo sa next question habang wala pa recent time check po. It's 11:34 a.m. So pwede po tayo humabol ng siguro mga 3 to 5 questions before tayo mag-end of lunch. So from Sir Heriberto po, query for CPAP. So if there is a BCP for MSMEs, should there be a similar plan for consumers? So sir, for us po, as far as CPAP is concerned, we have plans po being implemented po na. So ito po yung tulad po ng mga disaster preparedness plan, yung po meron po kaming ginagawa ngayon na food provisioning. This is to ensure po yung mga supply, replenishment po ng pagkain, ng mga basic necessities and farm commodities are available po in terms of disaster. And meron din po kaming mga current MOUs and MOAs or Memorandum of Understanding with the manufacturing sector po na basta po magkaroon ng calamity, automatic po yung kanilang mga distributor, yung kanilang mga retail partner po doon sa affected areas, papadalan agad nila ng replenishment. And meron din pong food provisioning na naka-standby po yung mga basic goods na kailangan po in terms of calamity. So ngayon sir, meron po tayo nakagandang intakes. DTI lang po sir, buong Ndrmc po, particularly DSWD and DILG, meron din po separate plans and programs for consumers. Next question po from DTI Biliran, Sir Jojo Gayas. Ma'am Raquel, what are the support programs of DND OCD on the formulation of business continuity plans of micro SMEs nationwide? Ma'am Raquel, I think na-discuss niyo po ito mamaya. So if I may request po to elaborate lang po yung na-explain niyo po kanina. The question is, what are the support programs of DND OCD on the formulation of business continuity plans of micro SMEs nationwide?
Ayan po. So far po kasi micro SMEs, if you will be developing your business continuity plans, you can ask for assistance from our OCD regional offices on the DRRM matters. Okay, so on how to respond, how to go about doing your plans, maaari po tayo mag-request ng assistance sa ating mga regional offices na makapagbibigay sa atin, especially on the side of hazard, vulnerability, and risk assessments. Yun po. So you can, although not the BCP itself, kasi as I mentioned kanina, kasi kami nga po ay nakafocus sa Public Service Continuity Plan, which is basically is halos pareho din, because at the end of the day, we want to ensure na dire-diretso yung servisyo natin, whether public or private, pagdating ng disaster. Pero mahalaga po kasing tutukan ng isang MSME, ano yung hazard na kinakaharap ng iyong negosyo, gaano kayo ka-vulnerable, and then ano yung risk o yung pwedeng panganib na tumama sa inyo. At yan po makatutulong ang ating OCD regional offices sa inyo. So yun po, you can just write them a letter requesting for your assistance, and definitely they will be able to help you if time permits. Thank you.
Thank you po, Ma'am Raquel. So, doon po sa Assistant for SMEs, again, yun po sabi ni Ma'am, pwede po kayo lumapit po sa mga regional offices po ng OCD or ng RDMO, tama po, Ma'am. So, and may, sir, yung follow-up po ni Sir Heriberto, saan po, sir, saan namin mababasa yan? So sir, yung po mga sinabi ko pong mga policy and programs is available po sir sa DTI website, or you can search po sa Google. Search nyo lang po sir yung Disaster Preparedness Plan ng DTI. Or simple sir, you can go to our website www.dti.gov.ph and look for publications po and policies. Thank you. For the next question, ma'am, what is the mechanism in the engagement of Ndrmc to private companies?
Okay. So far sa ngayon, sir, na-mention ko kanina, nakita ninyo yung slide ko kung saan nakalagay doon ang logo ng mga organizations whom we are partners with. So, lumalakas po ang partnership, sir, ng private companies at ng Ndrmc. Malaki po ang pagnanais ng mga private companies to be involved sa Disaster Risk Reduction Management Program. Okay, for one, we are in partner with the National Resilience Foundation and SMRIs. We are sometime, I guess in 2015, nagkaroon ng pagpupulong ang top businessmen in the Philippines with the National DRM Council. Also have partnership with Manila Observatory. We have a partnership with this Chamber of Commerce, and even po yung mga private organizations pertaining to entrepreneurship and trade. Palagi po silang nagre-request ng ganito, resource person, para i-apply ang DRM approaches, systems and principles sa pagpapatakbo nila ng kailangang mga negosyo. So malakas po sa ang partnership. Open po ang council para sa lahat ng nais na makipag-partner, because we understand and we acknowledge the fact that it is not only the government that can help, but it is both the private and the public. Once magsanib yan, malaking tulong siya sa ating mga komunidad at mga tao. Kaya po, pinatatatag pa po lalo natin yun, and we're actually open to partnerships with the organizations and individuals from the private sector.
Right. Thank you po, Ma'am Raquel, for that answer po sa ating questions about mechanism on engagement of NDRMs to private companies. Ma'am, I believe po, tama po, meron din pong minsan po sa ating mga council meeting na i-invite po and member po ng council yung mga may private sector po for
Yes, sir. Apo.
for membership po ng private sector sa council.
Yes, sir. Ganun po. Kaya malakas po ang partnership between Ndrmc and the private sectors.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you po. And even as po sa DTI, malakas po ang partnership po ng DTI with the private sector, with the private companies. Again po, yung pong disaster management and response po is a holistic approach, hindi lang po siya government. Malaking tulong po yung na ibibigay po ng mga private entities, private companies in DRRM.
At saka so if I may add, makikita natin sa nagdaang mga disasters, makikita natin yung response, sa response efforts natin, malaking involvement ng private companies. Nagdo-donate sila, kikita natin donasyon nila ng commodities that will be helpful, mga relief assistance para sa ating mga naapektuhang kababayan. Makikita natin yan. The Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, for one, has been actively engaging in disaster response, and ganun din po yung iba pang private companies natin. Well, the DTI, I'm pretty sure, knows more about this more than me.
Right. So time check po, it's 11:43. I think we can entertain two questions kung meron pa po. So I would like to ask or encourage everyone po na mag-unmute po ng mic or raise your hand to recognize. Meron po tayong mga chat question po dito sa chat box about po sa prices po ng oil, ng price deregulation po ng presyo ng commodity and price control. So I think po yung topic po natin is about disaster resilience. So I think po si Ma'am Raquel is not privy po on this part, but Sir Ferdinand, we will try po to answer you. Kukunin po ng mga admin po namin yung mga question, and sana po nakapag-attend sir kayo, and sasagutin namin kayo sir separately. Tama sir kayo na yung pong Ndrmc OCD more on po sa kanilang sakuna. Disaster DTI is about po sa trade industry price po. For your kind of information sir, whenever po there's a declaration of state of calamity, the DTI particularly sir, yung pong ating mga provincial director, provincial officer sir, nagkakaroon po ng agad ng automatic price control as stated po sa ating price act sir. Yan. Yes sir, don't worry sir, ang inyong pong mga questions sir is kinukuha po namin, and tulad sir ng sabi ko kanina sir, nire-regulate po ng DTI sir yung mga BNPC or basic necessities and prime commodities that are stated sir sa price of RE 7581. When it comes naman sir sa presyo po ng oil or ng presyo po ng langis, ito po ay nasa sa ilalim sir ng Department of Energy. So yung pong inyong katanungan sir ay yes sir. Thank you din po sir. Yan. Alright, I'm reading sir at your other questions sir dito sa ating chat box po sir, no?
So yung 20 pesos per kilo ng bigas. Wish ko din po yun. Hindi ko kaya sagutin.
Go ahead po.
Saka po yung 10K, no?
Opo, actually yan po yung kung mapapasan po sa social media, yan po yung laging laman po ng mga comment box. But yes, again po, kung meron po kayong kung napapanood niyo po sa news kahapon po, nagkaroon po ng executive meeting po si President Marcos po sa Department of Agriculture, and I believe po isa po ito sa mga kanilang mga na-discuss. But let us wait po sa move po ng Department of Agriculture, since ito po ay under po ng kanilang mandato. So time check po, 11:46. Again po, ulitin ko lang po yung pong about po sa BCP, small MSMEs. We will try po ito pong succeeding pong weeks, magkakaroon po kami ng mga webinars on BCP, on MSMEs. Once ito po ay na-secure na po ng aming team, magsasend po agad kami ng mga email invites and sumulit po para doon po sa inyong para po kayo ay makapag-join po doon sa webinar workshop na yun. Okay po, Sir Heriberto. Sir, please post the feedback form. Yes, sir. Nandyan po sa chat box and send po agad ng aming admin team, sir, yung CSF form. Okay, time check po, 11:47. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. So if walang question na po masyado, again, last call po. You can chat your, message your question po sa chat box, or you can raise your hand po para magkaroon po tayo ng ma-recognize po kayo at matawag kayo at ma-address po yung directly ang inyong question. Parang meron po bang certificates na ibibigay? I think po, kukunin po namin yung mga attendees, and if, kung magkakaroon po ng certificate, papadala po namin. So mahalaga po na kayo po ay fill up po ng attendance doon sa ating link na nakapost sa chat box. Yung CSF form po, andyan po, pinost po ng ating team. So please click the link po para ma-access po yung attendance, yung CSF, and yung presentation po na ibinigay kanina ni Ma'am Raquel. Okay, so far po, wala na po tayong questions sa ating chat box and nagre-raise ng hand. Again po, maraming salamat po sa mga nagtanong, and yung po mga question po, Sir Ferdinand, those are well noted, sir, and we will reply to you, sir. No? Then again, Ma'am Raquel, thank you for answering the question, and we hope po na marami pong natutunan ang ating mga consumers ngayong umaga. Before we close this session po, mainly ask kung saan po kayo, ma'am, pwede makontak ng mga participants para sa other concerns po nila, or to give a search message for our, if ever po meron po silang comments po and question po, pwede po kayo makontak.
Okay. Sige po sa ano ba ito? Ilagay ko na lang po sa sa chat box yung email address ka. This is my personal email address because nakalimutan ko po ang aking password sa aking email, office email. So bear with me. If in case po meron kayong mga tanong, ayan na po. Ay, teka lang, naka-direct message. Ano ba yun? For everyone, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Sige. Ito po. Hindi po ako ganaan ka-techy. So bear with me. Ayan. Okay, ayan po.
Ayan po.
So mag-photo tayo.
Yes, ma'am. Yan, so for everyone po, message po ni Ma'am Raquel yung kanyang Gmail. So kung meron po kayong question or concern or feedback po, you may directly send her an email po. And Ma'am Raquel, before we close po, can we request for a short message for our participants?
Okay. Sige po. Okay, thank you so much po for being here, and thank you so much po for actively participating. Yun po, nakakatuwa po, nababasa ko sa comment that they were informed, that informative itong naging discussion, nakakataba po ng puso. Gusto ko lang pong iwan sa inyo na please po, let us acknowledge that climate change is real and that it is happening, and please, on our small ways, please let us do our part, because at the end of the day, pwedeng mabigay natin sa children natin the best education for their future as possible. Pwedeng yung ating mga binoto ay tama pala, pwedeng lahat ng pinaglalaban pala natin ay tama, but at the end of the day, if the world is ruined kapag wala na yung mundo, what are all this for? And thank you so much.
All right. Again, ma'am, thank you so much, Ma'am Raquel. We really appreciate that you took the time po to share your knowledge about DRRM and CCA. Maraming salamat po. And muli po, maraming salamat sa ating very capable speaker ngayong umaga. At mula po sa Consumer Protection, maraming salamat po sa ating mga participants na nakasama natin sa webinar session na ito. Huwag niyo pong kalimutan, samahan muli kami sa aming mga susunod na webinar. Our announcement will be posted in our social media accounts. So for more updates po, please like, follow, and subscribe to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube account, the DTI Consumer Care and DTI Philippines. Also, kindly accomplish and submit the survey form po para makakuha din kayo ng link at para ma-download ang presentation na ginamit ngayong umaga. Again po, thank you so much everyone and stay safe.
Sir, can we have a photo?
Ay, sige po. Ayan, sige po. To those po who can open your camera for...
You know how it's like. You know how it's like. If it's not in photo, it did not happen.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hello po.
Alright po. Hello po. Good morning po. Nice to see you po. The handsome and gorgeous faces po natin ng mga participants. Again, we have seven pages. Okay. Wear your best smile. Slide number 1. 1, 2, 3. Page number 2. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Page number 3. 1, 2, 3. Page number 4. 1, 2, 3. Page number 5. 1, 2, 3. Page number 6. 1, 2, 3. And last, page number 7, 1, 2, 3. Alright?
Ay, sir. Sorry, ipahabol ko lang po ha. Please, join us din po sa webinar namin sa July 7. The first leg is the prevention and mitigation. Nandun din po ako, makakasama din po ninyo. So please join us, kindly visit Civil Defense PH sa Facebook po. Thank you so much. Hope to see you there.
Thank you, Ma'am Raquel. Maraming salamat po. And everyone have a good lunch po. Thank you. God bless.
Para sa ating mamamayang Pilipino, para iwas daya dapat wais at alisto. Mainam maging mapagmatsyag at mapanuri tayo. Palakasin ang boses ng ating mga konsumer. Dapat tama bawat presyo at serbisyo. Produktong pasado, lalo ang mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang kalidad ng mga produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat, tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng DTI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 4109, for Consumer Care at iba pa, tayang 1384.
Ipalaganap, karapatan at tungkulin. Kaalamang tama sa consumer ibahagi. Tulay sa kaunlaran, kalakalan ay palakasin. Ito ang pagbabago para sa ikabubuti natin. Dapat tapat bawat presyo at serbisyo. Produktong pasado, lalo ang mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang kalidad ng mga produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat, tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng DTI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 4109, for Consumer Care at iba pa, tayang 1384.
Dapat tama, dapat tapat, mula sa DTI ito.